What's up, guys? It's Patricia from tarantulaheaven.com, and we have little Blinky in here, who is tunneling right now, as usual. And we also have Spidey, who is right here, the big one, and coming to you from my bedroom, which is where we are filming all winter because it's warmer in here. Anyway, so today I wanted to talk about what does handling a tarantula feel like? This is a question that I get a lot. And if you are new here, I put out videos about tarantulas every single week, whether it's tarantula facts, sharing new things that I've learned about tarantulas, sharing my own experiences about tarantulas, or just weird things that I've seen my tarantulas do. So if that is what you are into, you can subscribe below, or you can subscribe to my Patreon channel for early access to those videos. Anyway, so I get asked this a lot by people who really want to get into tarantula keeping, or people who are just really curious. And if you are in the tarantula keeping hobby, you know that tarantula keeping is getting incredibly popular now. So I get this question quite a bit. So what does holding a tarantula feel like? The first thing I would like to say about this is that you do not need to hold your tarantula. That is a misconception in this hobby because handling pics are so popular and they're kind of used as bragging rights, unfortunately. But you should know that tarantulas don't benefit at all from handling. I would say that they don't really like it, although some can tolerate it. A lot of times it just makes them feel stressed out. And handling your tarantula is a great way to have an accident that either hurts you or your spider. So I kind of advise against this, although I have handled Spidey in the past. I don't do it very often anymore. And if you are thinking about your tarantula, you really need to be versed in the proper way to pick up your tarantula, to hold your tarantula, and to also catch them and find them in case they happen to bolt. So never try to handle a tarantula before you know these things. As well as being well versed in tarantula first aid in case something happens. These are all the risks that you take when you choose to handle your tarantula, and I don't think that many people actually think that stuff through before doing it, and that is exactly how accidents happen. So with all that being said, I will let you know what handling a tarantula feels like, and I kind of struggled with trying to find the words to explain it. I think that all of us would explain it a little bit differently but similarly as well. So I said that before, that I don't handle Spidey very often, but when I have done it, I've really enjoyed it. And that is something that I did for me, not her, unfortunately. Like I said, she is docile, she is calm, but you know, she doesn't really know what's happening. And I'd say she probably prefers to be in her tank instead of on my hands. But so tarantula handling, it feels really magical, I think. It's hard to put into words. You can't really predict how it's going to feel either. Depending on like the size and age and weight of your tarantula, it's going to feel a little bit different. But Spidey is the only tarantula that I've held. I do have a sling Arizona blonde named Blinky right here. I have never held them because they're very fast and I'm worried about them getting away or having an accident or something like that. So I have not tried to handle them yet. I probably won't for a very long time until I feel like they've slowed down, which they do in their older age sometimes. Spidey is elderly, so she's pretty slow. However, that doesn't mean that an accident couldn't happen. So I'm always very careful to test her temperament before handling. So tarantulas aren't necessarily heavy. However, if you have a large spider, you are going to feel a little bit of weight. And sometimes this can feel surprising too. I remember when I held Spidey, I was surprised both at how light she was, but also that I could still feel her. Like, she did have some weight. And I'm not sure if it's because they are just so fragile and kind of like they have like this airy feeling to them. But at the same time, like, I think it might also be because they do balance their weight on like 8 different legs, so maybe it's just distributed in a way. So there is like a little bit of weight to them and you will feel it, but it's just gonna feel kind of weird. Also, something that people do not really expect about tarantulas is how soft they are. If you've ever pet your tarantula, which I don't really recommend, but if you have a docile tarantula, you can give them like a very gentle little stroke on their bum. Be very careful of those urticating hairs and your tarantula's safety while doing this, but they are so soft. They're like softer than a kitten. A lot of people don't expect that, so you might feel a little bit of their hairs on your hand when you're handling them. A lot of people also don't know that tarantulas do have these little retractable claws, like a cat, very much like a cat, on their 8 little spider feet. So spiders have like these paws, and while they're not always, the claws are not always out, so you may not feel them, but you might feel a little bit of scratching sometimes on your hand, and that is just the claws trying to grip or gain a sense of their surroundings. So they use these little claws to climb, hold onto surfaces. It doesn't mean that they're trying to scratch you or hurt you, but you just might feel a little bit of them if they have them out. Another thing that's a little weird, especially if you're used to having a cat or a dog, is the fact that tarantulas don't have any body heat. They are cold-blooded, so they don't really feel much like anything. You're not going to feel any heat emitting off of them. This could be a little bit surprising for people who aren't familiar with that kind of animal. A lot of times, and this is what I've experienced sometimes in handling Spidey, is that sometimes your tarantula will gravitate to warm parts of your body. So there was one time where I was holding Spidey in my hands and I kind of let her crawl up my arm, and she kind of stayed in this area like this because I think there was a lot of heat there. And she kind of stayed in there. She lay there for a few minutes, and then she tried to climb up my arm, and I had to put a stop to that. So I didn't want that to get too far. But some people do report that their tarantulas do tend to gravitate for their body heat. So that is something that you might want to think about and be aware of, that yes, your tarantula is going to move when you handle it. They're not going to stay in one place. So beware of that, and beware of how you're going to handle that. And I don't know what else to say about this. This is such a hard feeling to describe. I would love to actually hear how you guys describe it in the comments, because I'm having a hard time putting it into words. It doesn't feel like anything I've ever felt before. It's kind of like describing something that you've never tasted before. It doesn't taste like anything else you've ever tasted. It's kind of like, I don't know, like this feeling of like a little feathery feeling, but the feathers got a little weight to it. And when they move, it's kind of like this very light touch, but it feels totally weird because there's 8 things moving at once, like they're 8 feet. So it's very interesting. And sometimes people do report that very special things happen when they're handling their tarantulas. You might experience things like your tarantula webbing on you. So that's a different sensation. That's never happened to me, but it has happened to others, so that'll be a different sensation for you. And also be aware that a good amount of tarantula owners have reported that their tarantula has gone to the bathroom on them. I don't know what that feels like, luckily, but you can definitely watch some videos on that on YouTube. There are tons of them. And so I would just say that, like, feeling this little creature, this furry creature, that you don't expect to be as furry and soft as it is, moving so lightly over your arm feels really like exhilarating. It feels a little bit scary, at least for me. I do get nervous, or I have gotten nervous every single time I've held Spidey. You know, I think it's just about being aware that if you do choose to handle your tarantula, you will probably really enjoy it. However, just keeping in mind that it's something that you're doing for yourself, not for your tarantula. So be sure to take the proper precautions. And also understanding the risk that you are assuming when you do this. Anyway, if you have any other explanations about how tarantula handling feels like to you, let me know in the comments. I really struggle to put this into words and to actually like conceptualize it for you, because it really, to me, it doesn't feel like anything else that I am aware of. So let me know. And if you are looking into specifically tarantula handling, there are some amazing YouTube videos about this. So definitely just search for that. You'll find a bunch. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.